Hey, you just tell me when.
We are live for all practical purposes.
Okay, it is 6 o'clock. I call to order the December 8th meeting of the Bethlehem Public Library Board of Trustees. We have a light agenda tonight, but those are famous last words. To start off, we'll go to Sarah. Actually, first, before we do that, we'll go around and do introductions, and then Sarah will read our statement about public participation. Sherry, do you want to start?
Sherry Whiting, Board Treasurer.
Sarah Patterson, Vice President.
Laura Tabetta, Secretary.
Jill Adams, Trustee. Michelle Walsh, Trustee.
Mark Kissinger, Trustee.
Jeff Kirkpatrick, Library Director.
Caroline Brancatella, President, and Gail Sacco has an excused absence tonight. On to our statement about public participation.
Beginning and ending each library board meeting with public participation is an opportunity for community members to express their thoughts on library operations to the board. Because the purpose of the monthly meeting is to conduct board business, it is not a time for back and forth debate with members of the board. If specific questions are presented during public participation and the relevant information is readily available, the board will make an effort to address the question in the course of the meeting. Otherwise, community members may follow up on any questions by directly contacting the library director or the board via email or speaking to them after the meeting. We will advertise organized opportunities to speak directly with board members. A reminder that all library policies apply at board meetings, including the patron conduct policy and the harassment policy.
Thank you. Do we have any public participation tonight? Do you have any online?
None.
Okay. With no public participation, we will move on to the review of the previous meeting's minutes.
That's gonna be very interesting. Really quickly.
I said Kristen went to a little sing us from a word.
Nice copy of you.
That should be incorporated in this version that's here.
No, I didn't touch it.
Okay,
Afterwards.
got it.
I'll make a motion to accept the previous meeting's minutes. Michelle? Laura, second. All those in favor? Motion passes. Sherry, we'll move on to the financial report.
There's nothing really exciting that happened last month. Although we have received about 98% of our tax revenue that's collected by the school district. The remaining balance we expect to receive in April. Overall expenses are tracking on budget at this point, are very similar to last year. I did note that gas and electric is over budget by about 8% right now, so we're going to keep an eye on that. Prices have probably gone up, and I think we dropped the budget a little bit last year because we were under budget. So we'll just keep an eye on that. As far as investments go, we do have a $500,000 treasury bill that's due Thursday, and we plan to roll it over to a new 6-month T-bill. Interest rates have been dropping all across the board, but it looks like we're looking at probably 3.7% for this treasury bill. And then just a reminder what the fund balance is as of June 30th, 2025, $3.6 million. And of this, approximately 1.3 million is set aside for the first 3 months of the fiscal year, 3 to 4 months of the fiscal year, until we receive tax revenue. So I don't know if anybody has any specific questions about the report itself, or any specific lines in the report.
Yeah, I have a question on page 8, the cash investments.
Uh-huh.
You talked about a balance of 6.5 million, but how does that square with the 3 point you just mentioned?
Well, the 6.5 million is cash. It's revenue that we've received to date this year, mostly from tax revenues
Right.
that we haven't spent yet. Some of it we haven't spent yet because we're only in December.
Okay.
So once we go through the rest of the year, our cash balance is going to be back down to probably around 3 million.
So basically it's operating plus the fund balance. Right? Is that
Yes,
first line?
Yes,
And then the transfer is the money market, the bank money market of 740,000.
yeah, we keep funds in the money market account to earn some interest, and
Yeah.
every month we transfer funds from the money market to the checking to pay bills.
Same operation.
We try to balance the balance in the checking and the money market to maximize interest income, because if our balance in the checking account goes too low, we start incurring fees.
Okay.
So we try to watch that.
And for November was a little higher because we have the retirement bill to pay.
Oh, right. Okay. Good point.
Right. Which was 390,000.
Yeah, just-
We typically transfer 350 million,
350.
thousand, I'm sorry, not million.
Yeah, 350,000 is generally what we do every month from the money market to the checking. But because in November we paid that retirement bill, we had to transfer an additional 390,000.
Thanks.
Any other questions on any part of the report?
Make a motion on the financial report?
I move we accept the financial report.
Sarah? Michelle, second. All those in favor? Is that it from you today, Sharon?
Pardon me?
That covers
Yeah,
everything?
that covers it. I don't have anything else.
Great. Personnel report, Jess.
I'm happy to request no actions once again this month. So this is, we go, sometimes it seems like there's a lot of personnel turnover, and then you get to times like the last 3 or 4 months with no personnel actions, and that's where we are. So
Outstanding.
yay for quiet.
Okay, then we will move on to the director's report.
Director's report. Okay, we'll talk about the boiler project in a little bit. The fish tank is here, got some pictures of the fish tank, so it took a long time and a lot of work by a lot of people, so special thanks to our maintenance crew for staying on this project and doing so much of the casing work around the fish tank to get that up and in. Thanks to the Friends of the Library who donated all of the escaping, the equipment, the fish, everything you're looking at in this picture here, and then to Larry, who's our donor, gave the fish tank. So a lot of people came together, a lot of work to make this happen, and I think it's been very well accepted by the kids anyway, who like to see fish. So that's awesome. Lots of good adult services projects and displays. You can read through that. I'm not going to go through these one by one. Just going to note some, our continued Bethlehem Historical Association series. The FDR Knott's Valley was well attended. Almost 90 people in that room. For that, author talks, our virtual programs. Just to mention once again, let's call it the work of the tech services staff, who really the public has not noticed a change in our book vendor. It's a significant change on our part. It's all back office work, but it's one of those unsung things that most people don't recognize. It just needs a little mentioning. And then Phil's work with Ingram to get us set up on this new book supplier, and we will be the first or one of the first libraries in the country to be set up on their new system. One of 2 libraries set up on the new system, which should streamline the automatic ordering and the integration with our online system. So that's cool. The new app is going well. Remember a couple months ago we had a kerfuffle about the app. People weren't sure it was just to which version to download, but people have discovered it. We're seeing consistent use on it, and the use is exactly what you think it would be. It's looking up items, searching for materials, and managing user accounts. That's what people are doing in the app. So seems to be well received. I like it. If it just works, if I'm not getting it to play, it's not something that's going to bring a lot of kudos, but the app does its job. So we're happy about that. Continued high attendance. They'll be dropping off for the month of December, but in November is high attendance for high attendance for all our youth services program. They'll drop off a little bit in December, of course, but just strong continued showing for those program series. And then lots of other awesome children's programs, which you can read all about in the report. Be labor here. Some good outreach at the high school, Glenmont Abbey, Hammock Rail, and then the reports were attached to my report. All the New York Library Association conference reports were attached there. I really won't go through there, but some good classes at the conference again this year. Thanks again to the trustees for supporting attendance of so many of the staff people at that conference. It's great.
I actually had a question on your report from the conference.
Okay.
You had mentioned that our library was mentioned for public participation policy. What was the mention?
So the mentions were specifically, so this was a session about for directors of public libraries and how to address the thorniest of issues. And public participation is an issue that comes up frequently in public libraries. And so a library system director from the Southern Tier, so not our own library system director, specifically mentioned the public hearings that we had for both Drag Story Hour and our Miko Pellet situation we gave time to have people come in and have their say in the library. And
So it's a positive mention.
absolutely a positive mention. No, as a absolute, I'm sorry, maybe I didn't make that clear. Mentioned as a library doing it right, to say, if you have a controversial issue, don't try to say, well, we're only going to give you 30 minutes. Oh, we're done. Give people an opportunity to come in and have a say. And they called out specifically, said, other library directors, go watch that if you want to know how it should happen. So
Awesome.
I wasn't expecting that. It was in the back of the room, and we got called out. So that was nice.
It was probably too late for your report, but I saw there were some lovely new toys in the children's space. Was it the new grocery area? Looks really beautiful.
Yes, and we'll talk about it probably when we get down there.
Oh,
But I want to specifically mention
Sorry.
that was, they were ordered well before any of the discussion online.
Yeah.
All that stuff was ordered. We were waiting for some of the deals that were going to come on Black Friday. So we did.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any stats questions. There's a lot of stats. We don't have to discuss that either. So
Did anyone have any questions, stats? Okay. Mark, any update from UHLS?
No,
What did I miss? Sorry.
right.
no December meeting, so.
Still haven't met yet.
Do you?
No, we met in November.
Oh.
It really wasn't.
Right.
Besides what's going on.
Because they're a nonprofit, the system is a nonprofit, not a government. We have to meet each month to pay our bills. The board has to vote to pay our bills, to release those checks. They're a nonprofit, so they have different rules. So they tend to skip meetings in August and December. Like a lot of nonprofits will just say, hey, December's too busy, we'll just skip it, and then they'll bring back into the year. This resolution should have been part of the finance report, so we're gonna stick it.
Oh, okay, we're gonna go back. Oh,
Stick it under.
you don't want to do that under the boiler report?
Yeah.
We'll put that under the boiler
Okay,
report because
very good.
it falls under that umbrella.
Excellent.
Jill, anything from the friends?
Not really. They meet next week, which is their big annual meeting and board elections friends. And I will share some of the things we've been talking about. Which I know we're going to talk about later in this meeting, but I will relay some of that info to them next week.
And just to the public, if you'd like to attend the annual meeting, that is where they appoint officers. it's a good chance to go meet people, get involved if that is something you'd like to do. It's a great way to get involved with the library.
Where do they have the meetings? Where do they hold them?
In the community room, yeah. And they've gotten, they're big enough now. We used to hold the Friends meetings in this boardroom and they don't fit in here anymore, so we had to move to the community. Because they've got enough people at their meetings, which is a fantastic problem to have.
Okay.
There's usually good food there. So people bring stuff, so.
I think that we are moving on to new business, the first of which is boiler project. We'll let Jeff do a little update and then why don't we do the rest of it?
Fantastic. So the boiler project has not officially started. Representatives from BPI were in the building today. Good thing, because we also had a representative from Train here and they can coordinate a little bit about how to get the air handlers to pick up a little bit of the slack. Because obviously it's very cold. So if we take the boiler down, the air handler is going to have to do a little bit more work and it takes some configuration to make that happen. I do not know what that's going to look like yet until we get there. So that is a little bit of a step into the unknown. I could have hoped for a warmer December. The contracts are all signed with them and we are just waiting for work to start. I am scheduled to be without boiler for up to a month, but I'm hopeful that it actually will be for a much shorter time. Just as we get into the actual project, I think it might not be that long if they have all their pieces in place. I think the work can actually. So as far as the contracts are set, we are already on our end. We have our conversations with Train. That is, we are as ready as we could be for them. And then hopefully construction will start imminently.
Anticipate any patron impact besides the temperature, but
It's the temperature would be, so the nice part about where the boiler room is, if you know where the staff entrance is.
yeah, no, I think it's probably no, but
Correct. The answer is
sure for the record.
it really should not, there really shouldn't be anything. It is the most removed part of the building from where the patrons are.
Great.
The trucks from the company can pull right up to the door. It's super simple. The boiler is right there. And so they shouldn't be blocking traffic in the library. We shouldn't be blocking up the plaza. We expect that curbside pickup will continue to work, as will the book drop. So all of those things we would think impacts would be, and you're right, Mark, the impact, if I would expect an impact, it might be that we're going to lose a little bit of our detailed control of the temperature, and folks might experience some wilder swings in the main part of the library during that part, as the boiler supplies the fine control over those temperatures around different parts of the building. So we won't have access to it. So.
Okay. We as a board need to officially pass a resolution that we are transferring $150,000 from should I go the other way?
From the general fund.
Yeah, it should, from the capital reserve, from the
That's right,
general.
that's correct.
Okay, correct. Sorry.
From the general fund.
Okay, from the general fund to the capital reserve fund to cover the costs associated with the boiler project. So if anyone has any questions or concerns about that, now is the time. Otherwise,
Let me just mention, that anytime we need to transfer money to the capital reserve fund, we have to do it by board resolution. Board has to approve it. So as we were transferring funds to the capital reserve fund for the architect's fees, we had resolutions to accomplish that. So this is just the same time.
questions, concerns? Motion from Laura, seconded by Michelle. All those in favor? The motion to transfer the money for the boiler project passes. Okay. Next bullet is the children's area. I think that most of the board is aware that there was some chatter online from the family groups this week where some people were commenting that they were unhappy with the state of the toys in the children's area. And there was robust conversation about it. So we just figured that we would take a moment to address it, which is that I think that this person was in the library at the end of what we'll call a toy cycle, is that these toys are replaced regularly. And I don't think we can emphasize this enough. These toys get beat up and they get beat up fast. So those of you who are paying attention to our social media, you'll see that there was a brand new grocery store toy that is up in the children's section this week that was ordered before those comments. But in full transparency, I anticipate that before the next cycle of new toys, that will be broken again. This is also a moment to bring up the discussion that in our bond project that was up for vote at this time last year, there were significant, I don't even think the word improvement is the right word, but there was an overhaul of the children's section as part of that project. And obviously that vote did not pass, but that does not mean that the children's section does not continue to be part of the conversation. It's really a long-term conversation. We'll continue to maintain it as part of our operating budget, but we also have an ongoing conversation about improvements regarding it. There were some comments about the carpet. So I think now if anyone has anything they'd like to say or ideas about, I think there's a couple things. One, just to reassure the public that we are on top of it. New toys are coming in all the time. These toys are well used and well loved. They are the Velveteen Rabbit of toys. So that is a good thing. That I think is a good thing about our public. We want kids in there. That just does mean that they have to be replaced regularly. But also how that this is an important discussion of people care about the children's area. There was a proposal, it was not passed. How we can pursue ongoing discussion to enhance and improve the children's area. So I'll open it to any discussion, comments. And Jeff, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I think there were some comments about the quality of the toys. We do purchase higher quality toys than many people have in their homes, but in the end, the level of use that our toys see, they're gonna get beat up. And we have our dirty bin. I was talking to Christine about that. So if the kid wipes their face or puts it in their mouth and it's dirty, there's a bin, they can go over and throw the toy in the dirty bin, we'll take it off and then it's specifically tagged to be cleaned and put back on the floor. We don't always notice something like that if it's not visibly dirty. There's other kinds of things that need to be addressed, and that's what the dirty bin is for.
Yes, and those things might not be addressed immediately, put in the bin. There might be a lag because the librarians are servicing our patrons, helping them find books, things like that. But it will get addressed in the due course of the day. Thoughts? Well, then something I'll throw out for a future board meeting, and maybe for the communications committee, I think is how we can have some passive participation. Is that I think that everyone who looked at that discussion online, while online discussion, sometimes you have to take with a grain of salt. That doesn't mean that there's not constructive thought in there, and how we can move that discussion from a closed chat really, or a closed Facebook page to the public. So if we can all think of some passive communication ways to get ideas about the children's area. Maybe that means setting up a little table in the children's area and asking questions like, what would you like to see in the children's area? And I'm sure that will always solicit a lot of comments, but also other important questions, which is, how much, as a taxpayer, how much money are you willing to have the library spend to improve the children's area? We hear you that is a priority. We need to know how much of a financial priority that is for you. So I think that's perhaps a New Year project of setting something in there so that parents, caregivers, users of the children's area can provide that ongoing feedback as we continue to think in a long range way about the children's area.
When we're talking about space in the children's section, the amount of area is a fixed sum. There is as much space as there is, unless we're going to take room from the adult section or from the teen area. And within that space, balancing collection space with play space, with table project space, with reading space, that is a zero-sum game. everything that we improved, so we put a bigger fish tank in, that decreased the amount of space that was in that little play dock, right? Because the fish tank is larger, it took some of the floor space from that area. And it's, you know, every decision that we make in there is important. So is it that, I think if we expanded the play space, which I would love to see, but we were to decrease collection space, I mean, really what we're talking about is decreasing collection area, right? And I know there are some people that are gonna be very upset about that. And any one of these decisions, there's no magical answer that gives everybody all the space that they want for all the things when it's a fixed amount. So that balance is difficult to get, and I get it. So-
And I will say, there are potential ways to expand the children's area, but they come at a cost. So we just, we will open up that discussion again. We said we want to get feedback ongoing, but
And just to reiterate, but like, the carpet was one of the comments, and that's certainly something that's still on our radar and on our list. You know, right now, we're working our way through what we felt were the top priority items to address, like the boiler, which is more, impactful if something happens to it, and it was more immediate need. So the carpet remains on our list, and, once we get through this first batch of improvements, that's likely, I feel like that was a higher
it is, yes,
item, but more daunting and right, or what's the word, or it's just more impactful in terms of the, inside the library and affecting people's use of the library.
yes, and it is something that we have to consider. As a general statement, Laura, we are aware that the carpet needs to be replaced. It's on our list. It'll be addressed. I think it's pretty much coming up on the list, but that's also something that the board has to consider in terms of financial efficiency of whether we replace a small portion of the carpet or whether we replace all of the carpet or larger carpet, or whether we incorporate that in a larger children's project. So again, we're interested in your feedback, but just that those are all sorts of things that the board has to think about as we consider this space. Anything else on the children's area? Great. Jeff, tell us about Staff Development Day.
Okay, so staff development was last Friday. We take one day a year where we close the library in our slowest month, which is the reason we pick December. Keep it away from the holidays when we can have a large staff participation. We close the library down for a day, we do training. On that day, we ran through the year-long and multi-year-long statistics, and I'm happy so many of you were able to attend that day. It was great. I won't belabor all the statistics that we went through here. I was ready to, but we don't have to do that since we watched it. But we go through the statistics. We also did training on AI for the staff, which of course helps us check off our New York State requirement where we provide technology training to the staff every year as per New York regulation. So I think that the AI training went very well. We also we had fire extinguisher training. We talked about some of our emergency procedures. We went over first aid kits, what's available in our first aid kit, what we have, what our staff expectations are for first aid situations. And then we had both training, as per our incident this summer, which has already stood us in good stead. But I think it's important that we have as many staff people as possible, but speed as much as possible. And then we did some team building exercises at the end of the day where we were generating new ideas for new services. So look for more on that as we move forward.
Great. Thank you to the many board members who were able to attend. Okay, does anyone have any other new business? I have a quick bullet for new business. The board has been discussing for a long time the idea of how an opportunity for the public to speak with board members one-on-one and interact with us in kind of a community way. And the communications committee, dovetailing on that general conversation, has asked Jeff to look into dates for February, and he's looking at some viable dates for what we'll call a coffee, cocoa and cookies reception with the board, where we would likely be in the room that is available. We'll offer some refreshments, and we invite the public to to come in and chat with us. And once we have more details, Jill, we will, we hope to extend the invitation for the Friends to participate as well. Did anyone have any? Okay. Any other new business? Okay. So the Borthwick property. So as we know, we have voted to take down the property. And at the last meeting, we were discussing a communication strategy moving toward the demolition of that property. So the communications committee, which met was it 2 weeks ago, last week. Time is a constant. The committee agreed that we should have a communication strategy going into it. So we wanted to give you a very rough outline of what the communications committee has proposed as a potential plan. I want to emphasize before I go over this that the communications committee has not, we have no specifics as related to the substance of the communication, what those things will say. This is just an outline of how we can proceed with communicating about it for the board to discuss. So I'm gonna pull up my notes. So we are really working backward. We do not, I want to emphasize again to the board and to the public that we do not have a demolition date. But there is a good chance that it would be viable for us to take down the property sometime this summer. So we are working backwards from that date. So what we would anticipate is, I'll start from here, is we want to, in the March, April footnotes, which the deadline is actually very soon for, we want to be able to advertise an opportunity to present information to the public about the property in March. So we're looking at a March date for that. At that presentation, we envision really two things happening. At that presentation, the intention is that the board will have the options for the public to choose from. We'll say these are the 5 or these are the 6 things that we would like the public's input on in terms of what we should do with this property. An important point was brought up at the communications committee is that the board can decide, well, we're definitely doing this, or we're definitely doing this thing and this thing. And we can do 4 more things. This is what public we need you to weigh in on. Again, we don't know exactly what those numbers are, but so we would have an in-person presentation about what those options are. And at that point, we would seek written feedback from the public on those options. Again, we have not decided on the format of that written input. It could be a number of things. I think the board and the communications committee can continue to discuss that and bring that to the board moving forward. And obviously all board members are welcome to weigh in on that. What we would also have at that March presentation is, again, a passive presentation that continues for a few weeks following it, where let's say there are 4 options, where we have tables set up that present what those 4 options are. So let's say option 1 is a food fridge. We have pictures of other food fridges at other libraries. We have information about how that would work. So that individuals, who are coming through the library, who maybe can't make it to the public meeting, have an opportunity to take the time to come look at that. Either they come in specifically to do it, or even better, they happen upon it as they are in the library and get the chance to take in that information and provide feedback in whatever format we are asking for it. Of course, all of these things, both the presentation, the passive presentation, will be accompanied by the other ways that we communicate with the public, website information, social media information, however else we can get it out to them. So knowing that that meeting is going to be in March, it is very important that the board decides what information we are putting out to the public by the end of the February meeting. So that means that both our upcoming January meeting and our February meeting will have extensive discussion about really what are the 4 or 5, whatever the number is, things that we are putting out to the public for feedback, and how do we want that feedback coming back to us. So, okay, we have the March presentation, we have our passive presentation that continues for a discrete period of time after that. We take in our comments, we take in, the feedback that we've gotten, we analyze that information, and the board will then decide what is going to happen. We anticipate that in late spring, early summer, hopefully, we will have a viable demolition date set. And obviously, there are lots of things that go into that, lots of approvals, things like that with the board. And then we can announce simultaneously both the demolition date and what is going to happen with the property, so that the public knows that that property is coming down, and as it is coming down, they know exactly what we are planning to do with it. That might mean that we likely may not have a timeline for everything we plan to do with it at that point, but at least we will have the information of what we plan to do with it moving forward. I'd also just like to emphasize, and Communications Committee discussed this a lot, is that even though we are coming up with things to do with this property as the initial things that we are doing with this property, it's extremely flexible. So anything that is chosen to be the first things that come into this property, that doesn't mean that it's what is going to be there in 20 years. Doesn't even mean that it's what's going to be there in 5 years. There's the opportunity to have this year we do this year we do that. So there's lots of flexibility there. So I just talked a lot. But does that make sense to everyone? Does anyone have any comments, concerns? Want to see that flow in a different manner?
All right, my first question is, how long is the demo process? And maybe, I don't know if you would know, Jeff, like.
So the last time I was here, but not the director, when we took down the 2 houses next door, the actual demo, if you were talking about how long does it take to knock down a house?
No, how long does it take
Yeah.
to, say we're gonna knock it down,
Yeah.
go through all the
Right.
permits and,
Yep.
and hiring of.
So from the practical standpoint, given that the board has directed that this is going to happen, I'm seeking proposals from an architecture firm to give us a plan, basically, for a demo. This is both a little bit more complicated and a little bit less complicated because it's property that is owned exclusively by the library and not the school district. And therefore, it would not fall under SED's approval, but it does mean we have to fall under the town, someone has to issue the permit, and it would be the town issuing that permit. So that's a process. We don't actually have much to do with, so we have to have someone help us navigate through that process as we seek to get the house.
So,
So
I
that's, it could be a while. I mean, certainly.
So is it
months.
like a 6 months?
Yeah, I would say that's fair.
Okay, so then my larger question is, shouldn't we go ahead and start that process long before we do the tables and the?
Yes.
We are, and I think that this is an important moment both to your question and to the public, is that this is a moment where a lot of the work that we put into the bond, Jeff, keep me honest, will come in handy. Is that where we might have had to go through a secret process for this previously, that is already
So we know a lot about the secret
Secret
process,
process.
and the secret process for this should be relatively.
yes, and having had I want to emphasize, very preliminary conversations with the attorney about this.
Yep.
We do not anticipate significant roadblocks to the permit, mainly because a lot of the groundwork for this has been laid. So while like anything we do, there are significant steps to go through and lawyering to go through and all of that. But that, I think, is why we are implementing this process. Like we said, we're working back, we're trying to get to a summer demolition date. This is the time to start it at 6 months. And then again, I think the Communications Committee discussed the premise that we want the public to know what is going to happen to the property when it comes down. So we're working backwards from that in terms of communication.
Okay, so we're not holding up the demolition process.
So these people are parallel tracks.
Right, so basically
That's my question.
the demo, what I think I have very clear guidance from the trustees is sort of demolition to a grassy lawn
Yes.
is my default. That's where I'm working on now. this whole other process of what else did you like this to be besides a grassy lot continues to happen. So expect to see over in the coming months, you're gonna see contracts that are gonna come from an architect. I may well be talking about construction management. And then eventually, the bidding process, just like we just went through with the boiler, there should be another bid process, and that whole thing has to happen because it will be expensive enough of a demolition that it has to be bid out appropriately. So we know a lot about how that process works now, but don't be surprised if at January you start seeing those proposals from me.
Okay, great,
to get
that
there.
perfectly.
But
answers
to
my
answer,
question.
to kind of answer your other question there, I think the underlying question there, Michelle, is let's say we say, okay, we propose a food fridge, I'm just gonna keep working with that example, and
Keep seeing me and.
I do, and exactly, we wanna propose a food fridge and the public likes that idea and we say yes. And let's say that later, so we're gonna have to kind of caveat everything with the public, that everything is subject to legal and is subject to any legal and permit processes. So let's say that, and I do not think this is the case, but let's say that we find it, we say, okay, food fridge is on the process, is one of the proposals. The property comes down, it's a grassy knoll, we start to pursue the things that the public has decided on. And we find out that there's just some real roadblocks to a food fridge. That, there's permitting process, it has to go through zoning, things that happen. Then I think, and again, this is gonna be part of the communication strategy, is we can say to the community, hey guys, we heard you, we really want a food fridge. This is what it's gonna take. Or let's say something becomes significantly more expensive than we anticipate. Well, we can say, we really pursued it. It's gonna cost this. So there has to be a certain amount, like I said. We're allowing the public to weigh in, but everything comes with, there's a process. I think that's what you were getting at.
Well, and that actually fed into my second question, which was, if we're gonna be, as a board, deciding January and February what to put in front of the public, then we would also need to kind of know how much each suggested project might cost. Like it would be hard for me to say, oh yeah, well, I wanna do that, and that, but if it's $1 million, then maybe not, maybe it's just gonna be staged.
Well, then I think that is, so we kind of have a working list of things that we're looking at, which I think we can bring some ballpark numbers to the January meeting. And I think what I'm asking, is that we have 2 board meetings to have our full board discussion about this. That does not prevent anyone from emailing the board in the meantime and saying, hey, can we consider this for the January meeting? Can you see if you can get a ballpark price on that? So I guess the point is that we're having public discussion about that, but these are also things, I'm asking the board to think about these things, for the next 2 months, so that we can have very constructive conversation at the board meeting and that you're not coming to the topic anew when we sit down at the tables.
I think not just cost, but there's also a space limitation. So I feel like this process is about, it's like a prioritization process. It's going to give us information as to what does the community most like and want. And that can help and we can hopefully create some kind of a priority list, so that as money and space issues become more real, we have the information to make decisions about what might be able to stay, what might have to go, because there is only a finite amount of room to work with, and so we can't.
Yeah, eventually,
Everything.
we're gonna have to take this property, we're gonna have to take a map of this property. Let's say we get our feedback from the public, and it is very clear that there are 4 things that the public absolutely wants. It's very clear that these are 4 things. We're gonna have to look at the property and, okay, the public might want 4 things, but we're gonna have to say, really, there's only space for 3. So we're gonna have to then go, okay, there was a top 4, and it was a really close one at the bottom, but we have 3.
And there's
So-
only money for 2.
And there's only money, yes, and there's only money for 2. So and then that's another thing we can think about. We can say, you know what, we only have money for 2 right now, but maybe we're gonna reserve some space for this 3rd thing that everyone really, really liked, but maybe that comes later, maybe, we search out grants for that, maybe we pursue other things.
Well, and also I would gently suggest that it's not just the public that will determine the priorities, that really the priorities should come from the library staff and
Yes,
how
absolutely.
they're using the space and where they see the needs. And then the other thing I thought, we really should be prepared when we do these public presentations, that it's a presentation and that it's not inviting debate.
So I think that's a discussion, that is a discussion for the board, is that, I think it is a presentation, and then how we. I think there will naturally be some questions, but again, I think debate is an important word, right? Is that we are seeking input and we can discuss how we can make the board available after that presentation to, circulate. And again, that's why we want to have that passive communication available. And then, we have a review period. So like I said, there's a lot of opportunity for public input here. And I just want to go back to the point, is that, again, I want to emphasize that if the board is very much like, this is something we are absolutely doing. This is something that we are deciding to do. We can say that at that presentation, like, this is something the board has already decided on. So we can mix and match a lot, but there does have to be a spirit of flexibility here. And I think that is both by necessity, the way that this is going, and again, from maybe some of the lessons learned from the bond, is that because this is not a bond process, because this is coming from our reserves, is that we have the opportunity to be more flexible with the information, where the legal aspects of a bond did not allow for that.
Can you remind me what the acreage is? A quarter?
I think it's like a quarter.
Quarter acre, I'm gonna-
Don't quote me, I'm terrible with that, but,
Then I also want to follow up on Michelle's question. How many days will it take to bring it?
so the actual house coming down should be, less than a day, like the actual sort of destruction, it's very quick. Demo is easy compared to construction, right? So it comes down very quickly. That's not site remediation,
Right.
getting it all ready to go, but it's, when it comes time to come down, it comes down quick. And then we have to, fill it in and make it safe, and it's it's a construction area until that time, and then.
Foundation.
Yeah, the foundation has to get dealt with, the utilities have to get dealt with, all of that, so, this is a quick process, it's a relatively small project, and it's a quick process. That's not the difficult part of this. Part is the permits, getting, we've had, because of the building project that we proposed, all of the site review, all of the geotechnical surveys, and the type 1 review of the property, making sure there's not like hidden gas tanks sunken on it. That has all been completed because as part of this bigger project. So we are far more aware of any potential landmines. It's just that this process, because it's on a piece of property that we own, not owned by the school district, no SED review, opens up to us to this other permitting process that we are not as familiar with, because we don't actually do a ton of construction on non-school district owned property. It's just sort of an unusual circumstance.
And I want to just emphasize that the neighborhood rightfully they're going to want to know when this construction happens. They're going to want to stay up to date with that. I believe we have our neighborhood email list in place. So if you happen to live in the immediate neighborhood of the library and you want to make sure that you're getting updates on when we're doing things like this, please contact us. We will add you to our neighborhood listserv, where we will certainly let you know about major projects like the demolition, but also about other minor things, like if a tree is coming down today, or if there's going to be a truck for some reason in the vicinity. We want to keep you informed about those things. So I'm asking everyone, if, in your copious spare time, heading into the January meeting, please consider the things that have already been proposed at meetings, things like a garden, a food fridge, a book barn for the friends, a maze. What are some of the other major proposals that have come out that we've discussed?
Space for the Better World Book Space.
Yeah.
Say that, so. Yeah. Something. Look for
Look for
library, look for fridge. some sort of performance space, seating space, catch can seating space, which, are outdoor seating areas in the sun, when the weather's good, not now, but when the weather's good, are outdoor spaces in high. So,
So if you, I suggest, it's actually, I think, a very enjoyable Google deep dive is libraries and green space and libraries and outdoor space and seeing what other libraries have done. And there is tons of creative things out there, both in genuine green space and in more urban outdoor space, for great ideas. And if you come up with a good visual of something, please let us know, because we are looking, the visuals that we are hoping to present to the public for these ideas, we are hoping to show how other libraries have done this.
I've been saving images. Just trying to be helpful. I'm the one who suggested a couple things. I thought I should share what my vision or my thoughts were. Try to find some really, really good examples, especially if they come from other libraries, not just out there in the world, but specifically libraries doing it.
Yeah, and libraries are great, but I mean, in your researching outdoor spaces, public outdoor spaces, obviously there are community centers, there are town halls, there are schools that do amazing things. The best ideas are stolen ideas. So, like I said, it is a very relaxing Google search as compared to a lot of things that you could go down a deep dive on a search. This is a nice one.
there's a great crepe kiosk in Bryant Park in New York City.
There it is.
Even
Should we have-
outdoor coffee events.
Yeah,
I'm
Friends
kidding.
fun.
No joke, you go out west and you see all of the coffee kiosks everywhere. I'm not suggesting we would have that kind of commercial enterprise on government run property,
Yeah.
but they are awesome.
Yes.
Well, good, right? I mean, like the other libraries have coffee shops inside, so we could have a.
State parks have the
Yeah.
vending areas there. To bid it out.
So talked about one of the project, possibly doing a collaboration with the school on a public art.
Yep.
Type thing, like working with the schools on the high school on a public art space or something too.
So I'll just jump in and say we did that at Ellesmere last year, 2 years ago, like the back of the building has a huge mural on it and BTA partnered with the high school art teacher and like 2 students designs that one and they helped draw it, painted, and the kids all went out and helped and it was pretty cool.
And also, again, in your free time musings, you can, again, please think about the communication materials, how you want feedback from the public, what you think would be most effective. But also, how to frame this tagline, kind of advertise it to the public. Because of my addiction to alliteration, the initial suggestions were a green space for growth and moving onward outdoors. So, but you're all creative, thinking of come up with some tagline. Would be great.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Beautifying, bountiful.
Beautiful Bethlehem.
I'm a fan of alliteration too.
So it's addictive. But any other questions, concerns? And again, I think this is just gonna be a big ongoing discussion for the next 2 months, so. Okay. Guys. Other old business.
I have one thing that I'll try to keep as short as possible. There's an email sent to a couple of trustees into the trustees' email about another request about the spotlight. I talked to the person who's advocating for the individual. This scenario is a little bit different than previous ones. The online spotlight, this person's mention in one of the articles was redacted from the online spotlight because it was recent enough to still be in the online spotlight. Ours is, it's still mentioned in ours and complicated a little bit because the individual was was a youthful offender. And so when I talked to the individual, I explained that, you know, it's a historical record of the community and we don't modify the historical. So they had some questions about what would be involved in doing that. I said, after my decision is the same as it has been right along, that we don't modify that. And that's where that is. And, you know, the appeal of that would go to the trustees. So that's something we probably have to discuss maybe in detail in the future, but
It's an issue that's gonna keep coming up. These requests are not. You know, I don't think there's gonna be a flood of them, but I also don't think they're going to slow down. I think we'll see a regular trickle of them. Okay. Any other old business?
I do have one. Along the lines of communicating to the public, I just wanted to share with the board probably an opposing opinion on board members having or the board having a social media presence. I do think that there are pitfalls associated with that. The first one being the uncontrolled negativity that can sometimes come with social media. Also blurring the lines between personal opinions and official opinions. And also just kind of staying in our lane. I think the library itself promotes events and services and community engagement where the board is supposed to promote governance. So so I know that's probably an opinion that isn't in the majority here, but I felt a need to share it just because we continue to go forward with that when we really did not have a full board discussion about it. It was a very broad discussion and someone threw in social media presence and then we started doing it. So it wasn't quite the same process that we usually go through, where I would have probably mentioned these things back then. Not that it would have made a difference, but just that another opinion is spoken out loud. So that's that. Thank you.
So as I did I don't know if anyone else did the library training that I did, the one with Cole, I don't know. And so one of my questions as part of that was like, do we have a social media policy? Because that was one of the things that she brought up. And so we do have, the library has a social media policy, and I did, time Jeff gave it to me, I did skip through it, and like, whereas on open groups that some of us are in, like where this conversation about the toys happened, like we have policies in place that on our social media that like comments have to be respectful and things like that. So I think it's less likely to get like out of control, but I guess, I don't know, do we have any kind of policies or limits around like sharing our posts? Do you know what I'm saying?
so because we're the library and government, we don't limit our posts being shared by others. We don't have copyright, we don't maintain copyright for basically anything that we do, so we're not so concerned about ownership of it, so it can be, I mean, what we put out is available to the public.
Right, so I get, yeah, so like if we have a post, I can share it to Bethlehem New York families and people could comment on it.
I was gonna, I didn't wanna, sometimes we, two people do it, like, I was like, oh, the new toys, someone should share this to the families, and I have done it before, like when.
Oh, I share things to the family group. Well, are we not supposed to do that?
No, I don't know.
Jeez.
No, I
I think that should be, that's ideal, is the more we share to our own social media or in groups, I think.
Does anyone have any other business present, past or future? Is there any public participation?
Yes, I would just like to thank all the board members for the delicious cookies that you provided us staff. Thank you, it was appreciated.
Jeff, anything online?
Nothing.
Would anyone like, it is 7 o'clock on the dot, everyone. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn? Laura? Jill? All those in favor? Motion is passed.